.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Penalty conceding kind of situation, but Atkinson did well. Avoid from oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Have you seen a more freakish goal in A-League history? Riley McGreen with a scorpion kick into the top corner. It's one of the most amazing things we've ever seen. Come on, Ernie, on your feet.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants. Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Pickett, she lays it off. Teresa Polias. It's an absolute peach. Ayres driving. What a hit from Melina Ayres. Wow. And Sam Kerr has a hat-trick.
And welcome back to another edition of Radio Dub. You know, there was a little bit of tension last week between me and Oscar, but we resolved
I'm shocked that he's still here.
Yeah, no, we've resolved.
Honestly, I was saying he's got to go, fam. He's got to go.
Oh, my days. Lachie thinking he's from London. But you know what? We'll let it go.
Very Scottish.
We've got a really exciting show today. We've got an exciting guest. Should I say it now or do I say it? Yeah.
That is the best time to say who you've got on the show is at the start of the show. It's just radio sort of 101.
I didn't realise that was Radio 101. I thought I was running a little bit differently. But we've got Calder United's captain, I believe. Is it captain? Correct?
Yeah.
You know, there's been a lot of changes recently, so I don't know. Aleks Sinclair on, who we're really excited to speak to today. You know, the side, you know, winning 3-0 on the weekend against South Melbourne in the Nike FC Cup. Some people on the panel today didn't remember what the tournament was called, but, you know, we finally got there in the end. Oscar?
I'm not sure who you were referring to.
I have no idea who I was referring to, but yeah, so we all watched the game. Lachie, I believe you were doing some sideline commentary with on TV with a fluffy jumper that we see now.
Yes, and thank you, Nike, very much for the said fluffy jumper. Although I wouldn't describe it as a fluffy jumper, I would describe it as a bespoke piece of fleece hooded wear that is
a big fan of it,
suitable for broadcast around the house. You know, just when you're at work, you know, plenty of situations where this Nike garment would be very, very suitable.
Fair enough.
Sorry, I had to. That was part of the contract.
Of course.
I did also promise to roll that into to Radio Dub. But yes, hooded and also Nike shirted as well. I was on the broadcast for the day, and honestly, I don't know how you guys experienced it at home watching on the live stream on the Valley Park Event Centre, but I thought all things told. You know, unless you're of a South Melbourne persuasion, this was a very, very good day. Yep. I thought that the turnout at Valley Park was great. What I've seen of the broadcast looked, you know, relatively good. You can't, you know, do much about me and Joey, but, you know, you work with what you've got.
Who was your, the name's
Jono Clemente, so the head coach of Heidelberg.
You kept reminding him about the Heidelberg loss in the semi-final. I thought that was a bit cruel, personally. I didn't understand what was going on there.
We can discuss the ins and outs of what was actually going on. Because, like, So to give you a peek behind the curtain of the broadcast, I knew, like we were clearing these crosses. I was having a little bit of a chat, like, okay, Jono, here's this idea. Would you be prepared to roll with it? I'm not just hauling him down there and making him talk about whatever. All right, I'm like, would you be okay with this? And then he says yes or no. And if he's not cool with it, then we don't go down there. Because you got to remember as well, where we were doing the live crosses on the day, we were standing between the two coaches' boxes. Now, you know, the coaches are going to be able to hear. You don't want to do anything to piss them off, so you have to be careful. And I asked him, okay, I wanted to frame it as in, okay, South Melbourne are 2-0 down. We've seen them come back from this position. And I asked him very clearly, are you okay if we reference the semi-final? And look, to be fair, Jono Clemente took that suggestion like a champion, was happy to lean in to the meme, I guess, which we always appreciate, and discuss it. But honestly, and maybe there's an element of bias here, but I thought that his sideline contributions in terms of the actual tactical analysis that he was able to provide pre and halftime during the game was really, really, really valuable. And I think also gave me an even greater appreciation for the approach Calder take to their games and just how comfortable of a game this was in the end as a result of their approach.
I think having Jono Clemente and also Gabby Garton on the broadcast really is, well, when you talk about it being a really excellent product as a whole, and I completely agree, and I think having those two expert voices really added to that. And so I think, I totally agree. I thought it was a really good show, if you will.
It was a really good broadcast. I did start with some technical difficulties. I thought that Optus Stream wasn't working for me, but then I realised Safari is never good for watching sport, so you always have to switch to the better server, which is Chrome. And it didn't. When I did see you guys' face and I did see the game, it's really good stuff. That first half was really exciting, and I thought that South obviously had some moments, but Calder obviously with their professionalism and the system that they seem to really, really believe in, and they stick to it no matter how the game is going for them. They just will ultimately kind of walked away like really comfortable winners. But who we can speak to about this game that probably has better insight than we personally would have is Aleks Sinclair. But we're just trying to see if she's in. Lachie, you let me know. You are the assistant
I will let you know. Do you and Oscar want to run through the goals before we get to the person who scored the second very shortly?
Yeah, well, of course. Well, Oscar, that first goal from Alana Cern. I need a confirmation. Who? Someone else can give us confirmation. How did you think of that first goal? Because that was really nice.
Yeah, well, the first goal kind of set up the remainder of the game, didn't it? That ball from Alexis Rossi through kind of split the whole South Melbourne defence and midfield in half. And there was Alana Cern making the run with a really nice finish. Jenna Farrow came out and kind of was caught in the middle.
Yeah, she was caught in no man's land.
Whether to come or to go. And it was a really composed finish from Alana Cern. And of course, Alana was also heavily involved in the second goal as well, playing the ball through, where Aleks Sinclair, who we're of course very lucky to speak to in just a moment, showed all of her experience and guile, if you will, around the goal with a really clever header. And then started the second half, penalty one, Taranto converts it, game set match.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think the best place to start, it's not when most stories start, but we'll start at the second goal.
The second goal. That's what they always say. I think Scorsese said that one, actually.
I think he says that. So obviously, just a beautiful flick. I was almost
instinctive. Wasn't
I was so caught off guard with that goal, and I was like looking around going, wait, how's that goal ended up in? And obviously the goal scorer of that was Aleks Sinclair, who we have on now. Alex, are you there?
Hi, Pokuah, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Alex, you've got to kind of walk us through the goal, because I was confused. You must, when it happened, were you kind of just like, I know this is going in the back of the net, or were you just like, where's this ball ending up?
Oh, I think initially it was a case of right place, right time. But, Alana had the opportunity to have a strike, and as we moved up, not to be caught offside, I got a glimpse of the keeper to the left of me and the defender, which was trying to catch me offside. And I didn't know until I watched it back that the keeper could have possibly caught that if I didn't flick it on. So my gut instinct was just to give it a little bit of a nudge and make sure it's directed into the back of the net.
So just clarifying, no hard feelings with Alana. Alana was satisfied that wasn't going in if you didn't get there.
The best thing was is that we both celebrated like we scored, and that's a goal for you when it's a team effort. I believe no goal is ever scored alone. So when you can see a celebration where two people are claiming a goal, it's wonderful to see. And we did clear it up in the change room, so there's no hard feelings.
I think that's always the best kind of goal is when at least or more than one person feels like they've scored a little bit of that goal and can celebrate just as if they had scored it, which of course only you have that exclusive privilege, Alex. We all know that. We all know that.
I appreciate that.
But the other interesting thing, of course, first things first, congratulations, by the way, on behalf of the Radio Dub team for what is a monumental effort from the Calder side collectively, but also from yourself as an individual. But this goal, the fourth consecutive time you scored in a Nike FC Cup final. I'm not sure if you're aware of this history, but you are the single most player who has put the most goals in the back of the net in the Nike FC Cup as a whole. Are you aware of that hot streak of 4 straight? I know you're aware of the team streak, which is 5 consecutive now, but you scored in 4 straight. Did you know that? And how are you feeling about that nice bit of, bit of statistical hoodoo that's on your side?
Well, once again, it wasn't until I watched it back that I learned of that information. You and good old Joey Lynch seem to do their background research really well. So I wasn't aware. And then it wasn't until I watched it back and Joey mentioned that. It was really nice to know. Once again, something I don't really pay attention to. I just like to go out there and get the job done and make sure I enjoy those moments with my team.
Well, obviously, you've, as Lachie mentioned, you've won this tournament a few times. Just comfortable. The trophy cabinet must be looking pretty healthy at the moment. But is there one Nike FC Cup that kind of maybe stands out more, or they kind of ultimately hold the same amount of weight for you every time?
Oh, look, I've had the privilege to play, I think, I was actually cup tied the first year, so I didn't actually get to play in the 2017 one when I came across to Calder. So I've been a part of the last 4 consecutive ones out of the 5, and each of those has its own memory. It's been a different team every year. And the fact that, you can keep winning these things while injecting new players into your team, it's phenomenal. This one meant a lot to us because it's such a young group, and I think there was a lot of disbelief outside of our environment that we can't do it again, that it's time to give it up. So that was fuel for all the girls, and particularly for me as their captain to just along with, Adriana Taranto and Natasha Dakic, my co-captains, to just drive that into the team. And the results showed on the day how much they wanted it.
Well, I'm glad you brought up, Alex, that sort of transition of this squad year on year, because did this obviously, once you get to a final, you're the favourites against South Melbourne, you're top of the table, you've only conceded, 6 goals for the year. You would be cognizant of your position of favourites. But to go back right before a ball was kicked in the NPLW this season, would you have been surprised to find the team in this position? Because I remember speaking to the head coach of Calder, your head coach, Mark Torcaso, at the start of the year. And you guys did bring through this season, or have brought through this season, 6 or 7 players from the under-19s who have slotted into that senior fold. Are you surprised that even with that sort of turnaround, those players coming in, that you've been able to just really sustain that success through the league and through the cup as well?
Look, you're always surprised with what players can do, and that's the beauty of football, is that the players are always impressing you and surprising you with their ability, and I think that's amazing. We've got a really good club where development is across all teams. So obviously the 19s coming up were coached very well and trained very well, and we knew that the quality that was coming up was going to, sit well with the senior group and the experienced players. So, at the start, it was very much focused on development. Let's see where we go, start fresh. But this group is incredible. And the fact that these girls have just come in and, added to that quality within the group is incredible.
Thinking about the sort of partnership as well with, Western United as well, which we might get the chance to ask you a little bit more about later on. But does that not link really well with, that partnership? This really speaks volumes about the value of what those academies can actually do for a side at the senior level and could bring into that A-League women's setup as well, because, the under-19s, as you said, were a super, super successful team. They've got that identity of playing the Calder way, but also the Calder mindset, which is one of, expecting to win in many circumstances. And they really have just slotted straight in. I feel like that really speaks to the value of what an academy that are all, learning the same way from the top down can bring into a club.
I think it's worked out perfectly. I mean, as you guys know, a couple of years ago, or just under a couple of years ago, the Calder partnered with Western, and it was primarily to join forces to create that pathway for women. And that hard work has paid off because they've now got the women's license for this upcoming season. So with the quality from our youth, even from our little mini roos, you see some little guns in there. It just goes to show that this is a new pathway for girls that haven't had that opportunity, particularly from the West, to, strive to play one day for their town or their home community, and to represent their club.
I wanted to ask, Aleks, you mentioned the partnership obviously with Western United and the introduction into the A-League Women's in the upcoming season. I suppose, is that kind of on the squad's mind when you're playing a game like this, knowing that, this could potentially be kind of a launch pad for an even further career in the A-League Women's?
I think it's always everyone's ambition to play at that top level in Australian football, and it should be. Because although we're at the highest level in Victoria, you always want that next step. And these girls are really focused and committed to putting all the hard work in to take that next step. And although it's there and it's always going to be in the back of your mind, the best thing we can do is just focus in the moment too, and make sure that we, finish this season on and give them the opportunities to be seen and hopefully have that opportunity to play in the Western colours.
Now, for you, Aleks, how do you stay heading into this season? You've been part of women's football in Australia for a really long time. How do you find that that motivation to get into this season? Be like, what, this is just another season. I need to be better and take your game to another level. How do you do that for yourself?
Oh, I just love the game, everything about it. Football's been a part of my life, for the past 24 years. So although I haven't had that opportunity to play for the actual A-League, I don't think many people would remember the old national competition because it was many moons ago. But it's something that's always an ambition of mine along with all these other girls. So I guess, playing in a young group and they keep me on my toes and they make me want it. So I play with that ambition, but I also understand, obviously, I don't have much time left, so I just got to keep working hard with the time I do. Obviously, the game's not always going to love me. So
I want to, go back to when that partnership was announced between Calder and Western. Where were you when you found that information out, and what was your instant reaction when you first heard that?
I was within Calder, and we heard the news of the original partnership through our president Amanda and our coach Mark Tocaso, along with the CEO Chris Palvanis. So it was special enough to grab a few of our experienced players in and let us know that we'll be addressing it to the group. And it was incredible to see the girls' reactions and then know that there would be a chance to have an academy and to train extra days in the week and then play some friendly games against other communities and interstate. It was awesome. The inclusiveness from Western, it was like we were already one of theirs. So, it was really good.
Aleks, you're, as you sort of mentioned before, one of the more experienced heads in what is increasingly, and especially this season, a young squad. And I guess that must push you closer together with Mark as well, because when we've spoken to him before, he's always talked about how there's often times in the change room where there'll be certain songs that'll come on the radio or on a playlist or something, and all the younger members of the squad are like, I've never heard this song before, but you two know exactly what you're talking about. We've gotten the chance on this station a lot of times to hear about the relationship between you two from his side, but I'd be really interested to know, how you feel your relationship with Mark is. What does he mean to you?
No, Mark and I relationship, it's pretty unique. Sometimes I love hate, but mostly love. No, I'm kidding. It's all love. He was actually a part of why I actually stepped back into the NPL back in 2017. And he kept an eye on me and kept pushing me to come back in, and I finally took the opportunity to do so. And every year, like I said earlier on, has been a challenge, and I think with every challenge our relationship has grown because we've just had to find a way to make it work, and I think that shows in the success that the club has had as well as our senior team. But I will confirm that he does give me that look every time a 90s track comes on and he goes, Alex, you remember this one? And the girls are just looking around going, what is this? So that's when you're closer to your coach's age because only you two remember the songs. Are you ever the DJ or the players been like, Alex, I feel like you should step away from the spotlight? I think I don't even get a chance to control the music, to be honest, because I think they'll all cram at what will be played. But no, look, there are some songs that come on in the change rooms that I don't know in this day and age. But the girls are pumped up by it, and I love seeing the enthusiasm and the dance moves and just the excitement in the change room. So it doesn't matter what we listen to as long as they're happy. Well,
obviously, there is an age gap between you and the younger players, but how do you connect with them and then also help to motivate them and help grow their career? Because sometimes you can find that if someone's a little bit older, then it might be hard to relate to them. But how do you get that to do that with them?
Yeah, I think it comes from experience. A lot of the stuff that you're faced with in football isn't seen on the pitch. So, there's adversities and struggles that these girls go through behind closed doors, which I can help in a way because maybe I've experienced something like that along the way or, gone through something that they're new at going through. And I think it just comes down to just life experience and having that relationship with them and that openness that they can come and talk to me anytime they like. Just as long as we settle it and we go back out on the field and play with our heart.
And when you talk about, I guess, the age of the squad, Alex, and on the pitch though, the Calder side is so mature. The performances, it's so it's like a team that's kind of been together for 10 years.
Yeah, in tune as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Know what they're doing. I guess my question is: are you surprised even by how good your team is at putting out those kinds of performances, and how have you got to the point where so many young players can gel so effectively and function so impressively?
I'm actually not surprised with it because we've got this culture that just allows people to step into it that want to be a part of our vision and just just somehow adapt to that. And it doesn't surprise me at all. Our experienced players, they're very welcoming. And I know sometimes it can be daunting for youth to step into a senior group or an older age group. But no, we make it as welcoming as possible. And, some of these young girls are even running the show these days. So it just goes to show how much we respect and love each other. And I think that natural want for everyone to succeed is always going to be there.
Well, certainly if there's at least one thing that does unite you all is that you're all a tremendously talented group of players and, one who got to hoist that very, very nice looking Nike FC Cup trophy. I got to see it up close in the flesh.
You know what?
I like the design. I appreciate it.
Good money for that trophy.
They did. And I know that Alex would be very familiar with the design of that trophy as well. But you guys
it's still heavy. It's still heavy. Oh my God.
Just as heavy as it was the first time around.
Yeah, I don't even remember it being heavy this time around. So I think it was the load of all the other things going on. But no, it's good.
You got to lift it on Sunday, of course. I'm curious to know, without too much detail, obviously, that you don't want to get anyone fined or you don't want to get anyone in trouble, but I'm curious to know how much, even though you have celebrated it so many times, how the celebrations were on Sunday night, because I know that Joey had a handful of invitations to the Roxy pub that he had to turn down from Mark Torcaso, so I'm curious to know how much you guys enjoyed the fifth time celebrations.
It was probably the most low-key one we've had out of all. And I tell you what, I was speaking to the girls last night. I was just like, that was really awesome. Like, I really enjoyed that because it was actually the first time where all of the girls, all of the staff, coaches, trainers, anyone included, were just in the same space at the one time, enjoying that result and that win. And just to be in each other's company on such a high like that, where there's pizzas and ciders or beers, whatever involved, water as well. It was just nice to see everyone enjoying themselves, and I couldn't be more happier with that night.
It kind of speaks.
It didn't go past 12 o'clock. It actually didn't go past 10:30. I confirm.
Wow,
the place was actually waiting.
See that I'm surprised. I guess that does speak to what you were saying though about the maturity beyond the years of a lot of this squad and the commitment as well, because there's something to be said for raucous celebration, but also quietly celebrating your achievements. Just having a relaxed evening to do that is very enjoyable as well. But of course, you guys, the reason you've still got that commitment and focus is because you've still got a very important piece of the season puzzle to attempt to fit into the jigsaw, which is obviously taking out the NPLW Grand Final and the Premiership as well for the first time in a number of seasons, because we have waited a very long time for it. But 3 games to end the season against Bayside, South Melbourne and Element. Well, the catch-up game as well against Box Hill. Are you confident of closing out that season and hopefully continuing what's been what we like to refer to as the Calder canter here at Radio Dub, where you guys just get into a rhythm and just tick along and get the results you need to get? Are you confident of seeing that out till the end of the season and hopefully lifting another trophy at the end of it?
I definitely believe this group is capable of doing that. And, the commitment and excitement within the group is to go all the way is there. And I think when you don't have that, you don't have that belief or confidence in your team. So it's definitely there. It shows every training session. It shows every game day. It shows on a special occasion like Sunday. These girls, they're a hardworking, bunch, very deserving of the success they've, received so far, because I believe they've earned it. And for a group that's achieved what they have, so like we've got a keeper who's got, Alyssa Delastay, who's got the most clean sheets in the league. I think the most clean sheets, I don't know, I'll have to ask you, Lachie and Joey Lynch on those stats, but I think in all the years she's possibly close to having the most clean sheets in a NPL season. And then, our back line, we've got a solid defence, very versatile midfield, and, a very crafty forward line who, likes to go up and down the field and create opportunities all over. So I think we have the potential to win the plate and back up the championship from 2019. This will actually be our 3rd time as a club, I think, if my stats are correct.
Yes.
3rd Premier's plate and 3rd championship trophy that we're going for this year. So it's definitely on everyone's mind. As I said, the celebrations were there on Sunday, but everyone knows there's still a job to do. And that's something we'll be driving over these next couple of weeks to make sure we finish on top and, work as hard as possible to get that championship trophy at the end of it.
Before we let you go, Alex, I kind of want to know, is there like a cheat code happening with the Calder defense? Because every time I watch them, they just never let goals go through. I don't understand if there's like an imaginary brick wall behind them and they're
it's 12 clean sheets, I think.
I don't really get it.
If you added up...
It's 12 clean sheets, that's correct.
Yeah, if you added up the second and third most amount of clean sheets in the league, Calder would still have one more than those two combined.
Twice as many as second place.
And also, sorry, this is without even going into the reason for inviting you on in the first place, Alex. The Nike FC Cup did not concede a single goal the whole way through.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's very ridiculous.
Yes.
What's the cheat code?
What's the cheat code?
Let us know. What's the cheat code?
Well, you said cheat code, but I think it's actually sister code. You know, the fact that we want to go out there and just fight for one another no matter what. I love that about our team. You know, we've got players that it's their first year and it's like you've been with them for the past 5 years, you know. It's that natural fight that I love seeing within the group because that's what I'm all about. And when you get that from your whole team, it just makes it all worthwhile. So we definitely, I'd love to claim that we've got the best defensive line in the league. I hope I don't get in trouble for NPL for that, but I've got that belief in my back line to get the job done. And my keeper, you know, I think they've only let 6 goals through this year as a back line and a solid keeper in Alyssa. So that just goes to show how strong we are in defence. And I will say they don't get a lot of the accolades they deserve. I think when you look at like your history of gold medals and best and fairest and things like that, it's very rare that it is a defender. But I will definitely make that call that we have some defenders that could possibly be in line for that gold medal this year. I believe so anyway.
You certainly do. And, you know, I have no doubt that we won't be seeing I think we won't be seeing many goals for the rest of the season with heading into the finals and for the last few games in the regular season. But, Alex, it was great to have you on and thank you for taking time out of your day to speak to us and good luck for the rest of the season and hopefully we might see you in a fun jersey heading into the upcoming A-League women's seasons, maybe. We hope.
Ooh, we'll hope. We'll keep working hard for it, that's for sure.
Fantastic. Have a lovely day, Alex, and thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot. Take care.
And we'll head on a break and then come back and we'll talk about the upcoming games this weekend and get some. We
should probably dig a little bit deeper into the final as well, but we will do that on the other side of the break.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Penalty conceding kind of situation, but Atkinson did well. Oh my goodness! Have you seen a more freakish goal in A-League history? Riley McGreen with a scorpion kick into the top corner. It's one of the most amazing things we've ever seen. Come on, Ernie, on your feet.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Maloney takes, and it's in! It's Ben Watson! It's Ben Watson for Wigan Athletic! They've surely won the FA Cup! For Dave Whelan, for Roberto Martinez! You just cannot write scripts like this!
Pickett, she lays it off to it's an absolute peach. Is driving. What a hit from Melina Reyes. Wow. And Sam Kerr has a hat-trick.
welcome back to Radio Dub. If you're just joining the show now, we just spoke to Calder United's captain and all-round fantastic player and fantastic human being, Aleks Sinclair. But if you missed it, don't worry, don't stress. It will be up on all podcast channels. If you listen to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or SoundCloud even, it'll be there. So don't worry about that. But let's debrief maybe a little bit more about that Nike FC Cup. Aleks had some really good takes on that, and she played phenomenal, scored the second goal, and her side ultimately came out 3-0 victors. But what did you guys think of the game overall, like the first half to the second half? Because I thought there was some big change heading into that second half.
Oscar, would you like to go first?
Yeah. Sure. I will say that I think when we spoke about this last week, when we previewed the game, I think that the thing that we left it on was how important it was that South Melbourne's defence held up in the early phases of the game, because if they went behind, it would be so much harder than it already is to get something out of the game. And unfortunately for South Melbourne, they weren't able to do that. They conceded 2 goals in the first 25 minutes. It was, from a South Melbourne perspective, a worst case scenario. Of course, from Calder, it's ideal. And at that point, I think we saw, as the game wore on, really the belief in South Melbourne kind of gradually faded and was drained, understandably so. But it was a classic Calder performance, and they executed expertly. And I thought that it was really interesting hearing Jono Clemente's views, because when he was speaking about, you either have to press Calder on the ball or not leave any space in behind. Yep. And South Melbourne did neither of those things. I feel
like they tried, but
they didn't really do either of them. No. They played quite high, but also weren't pressing the ball carrier. And as Jono was saying, that the thing that Calder across the park, I mean, I was going to specifically single out Alana Cern for this.
Yes.
Brilliant striker of the ball. Like, the technical ability of some of these players is really, really outstanding, top level. And as a, part and parcel of that is their distribution from long range is phenomenal. So that you could see, I wish there was a counter of long passes and long diagonal balls, because that is one of their fundamental routes to attack. And that is why, as Jono was saying, it's so important that you either try and press them high up the pitch and don't, or offside trapping players who might be able to get in behind, don't give a defensive player the time and space to pick out one of those balls over the top, or you sit really deep, so the ability to play that long ball is harder. But when they were in that sort of mid-block, they weren't really pressing the ball, they weren't really playing deep. So that's exactly how the first break. And it was funny because Jono said, we obviously went for the throw after the first goal to talk about that. But Jono said that within the first 3 minutes. And then within sort of 2-3 minutes of him saying that's where the first goal came from. And still credit to the outstanding pass over the top and the finish from Alana Cern, which still was a very good display of her technical ability. But yeah, it was fascinating, given that South have, in this sort of public discussion about this game, been very clear and vocal about, we have earmarked this as, this is the game, like this is the one we're preparing for. You would think that sort of strength that Calder bring to the table, what their best assets are going forward, obviously it's really hard to stop. But you would think that they would have been aware of that threat. So it was kind of maybe a bit disappointing the way in which they conceded that first goal, just because of that's not something that is inconceivable for Calder to do. That's not an incredible way for them to construct an attack.
I think that the first goal, like as we spoke about, heading into the game, it just kind of killed everything, because there were moments when seeing South Melbourne go forward where it kind of looked like they were trying to form something together. And I think a play that was pretty present when they were going forward and they had some level of possession was Akeisha Sandu, who I thought, considering how South played, I thought that in the first half particularly, she was their only real outlet of play. And it just, as soon as that first goal went in, it just was like South kind of walks further away from the game plan. Even if we disagree with that game plan, they took a step further because it was just like a sinking feeling, and it just kind of showed up in their play as well.
Yeah, I think a goal inside the opening 10 minutes was probably the worst possible thing. And I think the fact that it was 2-0 as well was maybe... Because, you look at their last two meetings going into this game, and no one's shocked to see that Calder have emerged victors or anything like that. Their last two games, obviously, 3-0 Calder, 5-0 Calder. But on both of those occasions, I think the first time around, South either held Calder to 1-0 at halftime or goalless. And then the second game, the 3-0 game at Keilor Park, it was 1-0 at halftime. So they have shown before that they can suppress Calder just a little bit. The second half's a different story. But I think that would have given them a lot more belief to even just take a 1-goal deficit into that halftime, because they know in the cup at least they have got that sort of bounce back ability.
And the reason we talk so much about how important it is not to go behind against Calder is because it gave that Calder midfield the opportunity to sit back deeper. They didn't have the same impetus to go and press forward. And we speak about how good Alana Cern was going forward.
And it allowed them to be more creative when they were going forward, because it just gave them the freedom to know we have that one goal.
More the space,
they're just to kind of do whatever they wanted. And the South Melbourne were kind of defenceless against that Calder midfield, who we just kind of overran them at the end.
And you speak about Akeisha Sandhu. Obviously, they made the move of putting Akeisha into central midfield to try and give them that creativity. But Sandhu, whenever she received the ball, she was so far into her own half that it was really difficult to do anything.
And I think, sorry to cut you off, Oscar, I think that was just sort of a problem that South had at large, is the minute that Calder, as you're saying, the minute Calder had that lead, they could just use Melissa Taranto and Alana Cern as 2 sixes, and pretty much when you were watching them off the ball, they pretty much had a back six, where the back four was playing in their normal shape. When the Calder front players were combining, obviously Churn can step up, Melissa Taranto can carry if she needs to, but for the most part, they're not coming up, especially with Cern, because she can strike the ball so well. She actually doesn't need to carry that far forward, commit herself that far forward to be an attacking influence. So to get back into position for her, into shape, is not that hard. She doesn't have to move that quickly. So anytime South Melbourne are trying to break, they've not working against an exposed defence that are leaving gaps. They're already operating pretty much. Georgia Candelas is trying to run against 6 players.
And for a side that hasn't been great this year at breaking other teams down and have struggled, that's just ultimately ends up being an even more difficult task for them.
And that problem from a South Melbourne perspective becomes even more severe when you consider the decision to play Holly Murray as the kind of holding midfield role, which I think was a decision made to not leave gaps in behind or in the defence that could be exploited. They were exploited, and when you've got Holly Murray in there and Grace Taranto's playing at centre back, it puts so much pressure on someone like Akeisha Sandhu to create, and South Melbourne didn't create chances from midfield. They didn't generate their own chances from midfield. The best South Melbourne attacks came in the first 10 minutes of the game when they were forcing turnovers high up the pitch. There was that really early chance when Jana Lawson put in the ball from the left-hand side and Caitlin Pickett had a header, which was just off target. That was as close as South Melbourne got. And that didn't come from one of the central midfielders picking out a pass or creating something, because that's so hard to do against Calder. And so once they're in front, well, then Calder take away the opportunity to be pressed and to turn the ball over deep in their own half.
And I think with that early chance for Caitlin Pickett, I think a lot of these things that we've talked about so far from a South Melbourne perspective are somewhat forgivable, because just because you know the things that Calder are really good at doesn't mean you can stop them. And South Melbourne are not alone in struggling to figure out a way that you can thwart Calder United. I mean, we are talking about a team who have won their 5th consecutive Nike FC Cup on Sunday. But I do think one decision that I really perplexed me, and I think is probably an area in which...
Is it cat golf?
No, not cat golf. South are a bit under strength in that defensive area. I mean, the really important thing to mention as well is that there was no Claudia Mijicic. She's having surgery at the moment. She's a massive absentee because she's made, I think, 40 more clearances than the next nearest teammate. So Grace Taranto, I thought, actually was probably South Melbourne's best on the day. But if you pair her up with Claudia Mijicic as opposed to Sophie Papatsanis, for example, or you chuck Mijicic in there, who is such a warrior, you could have thrown Grace Taranto, who can be a bit more of that bombastic midfield presence forward, give some support to Sandhu. That would have been really important potentially as well. But I think the big one where I was like, I feel like you guys messed this one up and could have done better here, was the decision to play Caitlin Pickett almost like in behind Georgia Candelas, like as an attacking midfielder or as like a shadow striker, as opposed to up alongside Georgia Candelas, because Georgia's a great player. Don't get me wrong. She's super quick. She's got the pace in behind. I can understand why you would put her up there, and she has done a good job there before. But I think the Calder backline is colossal. And I'm not just talking in terms of their strength, their actual physical presence. Like, they are a strong physical side across the park, especially in that defence. To leave someone who is slightly more, your diminutive speedster type in Georgia Candelas just by themselves, I think did lead to her quite a lot getting pretty much left on an island by herself and having little ability to influence the contest. And that's without even mentioning the fact that the ball, rarely if ever got to her to begin with. But especially when you're making those long clearances, if your only presence to try and win those balls in the air is Georgia Candelas, you're not really giving yourself much of a chance, whereas Pickett is more of a physical presence potentially, and she's got that ability to pick a pass too. I think South would have been better served by going with two up top and allowing those two to work a little bit together, and for Pickett to do a bit more of that physical work too. It
did look like every time that Pickett was able to get the ball, she looked like she was trying to create something and was not a challenge, because I think the Calder defence is the Calder defence. We've spoken about it, but coming in from that left-hand side, she was kind of putting more pressure than anybody else I saw from South heading into that. They're attacking that Calder defence, and so it was just a bit strange that she was so much deeper than I think she should have been.
And I think that also speaks to, within this South Melbourne squad, the actual lack of a recognised number 10 as well. Like, there's not really someone who can do that out and out. I think South might have hoped that a transfer window might have been an area or a period in which they'd be able to bring someone in to fill that void, but obviously we all know the situation. No one was able to bring players in because of the professional system and standards of the rule. Not the windows obviously are aligned with the usual windows. So if you don't have a recognised 10, why play with one? Like, they could have gone football. Like, I know, and I know you could also use Francesca Iamano there as well, but I can see what she brings to a central midfield role. Like, Francesca Iamano, like, because she is so quick and she does have a good ability to read the game. She does do a good job making a lot of interceptions off the ball, and I think we saw that on a few occasions where she could see a pass coming and she's so quick that she can get across to it very well. But I just feel like you're losing a lot of her absolute best attacking strengths to sort of drive through players when you put her in that central midfield role. So if you don't have an attacking midfielder, play a flat 4-4-2. You can play Sandy there. If you want to play Iamano alongside, you can, but you can also throw her into a wide area of the pitch. I feel like the approach, yes, I'm not saying that changing the system would have given South the win or anything like that, but I do think, I can't help but wonder how that game might have been different if
Calder don't score in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, and if a different approach was maybe taken into the fixture. But again, acknowledging the fact that Calder are behemoths of this tournament, South were missing important players and all of that as well.
You know what? It is great to look in the past. Oh, hey, Oscar, don't let me cut you off. You've got to speak up, mate. When you're on the show, you've got to speak up.
What can I say? I'm a very patient person. And then the only other thing I think kind of related to that point, which is just looking at it from Calder's perspective, and credit to Mark Torcazo's side, it's another point that Jono Clemente picked up on, which I think is so very true, is recognising that because of all these things that we've spoken about and structural challenges for South Melbourne, as we say, that means that the best chances are created by pressing and trying to force the turnover. What Calder are so good at, not just on Sunday, but in general, is not giving the opposition opportunities to press them, how quickly they get the ball up the pitch. And I think that's such an intelligent way of going about it, is, recognising that is the I guess, the origin point of so many of their attacks, but they don't dawdle on the ball back there. They don't waste any time. There's always purpose, and they're always looking to create even from, let's say, centre-back, and that makes it even more challenging for opposition teams to find a weakness or find a way to put Calder under pressure.
And I'm curious to, sorry, Pokuah, just a final point. I'm curious to know how that tactical approach will work in the A-League Women's as well. Because it won't be the same players, obviously, but you would imagine that the system will, under Mark Torcaso, will by and large be the same or similar to how it is now. But obviously there'll be the new blood in the A-League Women's. It's a new team. There might be a situation where they're expecting other sides to dominate more of the ball, to have more possession than perhaps, Mark has grown, or the opposition to have more possession than perhaps Mark has grown accustomed to this.
Yeah.
How does that impact the approach that they take now? Does it help them? Does it hinder them? I think you could make a case for it being of benefit, particularly if they've got people within that squad who can play those long passes over the top. I can't see any reason why it wouldn't work out.
And on that point, I think it will be interesting, not only Calder having the ball. So you give me one little go, Pokuah, and I just keep going.
Can't get enough.
Yeah.
It's okay,
not only the opposition having more of the ball, but also you'd imagine that the pressing would be more intense.
Yeah, more coordinated.
I can foresee a world in which we see Calder in possession and kind of, particularly at the beginning, there being an adjustment period to getting used to the fact that they don't have the same amount of time and that the pressing is not only more intense but also more incessant, like it's constantly going there, and that it'll be really interesting, I think, to observe, particularly with some of the younger players, how they adapt and if they can evolve to meet that standard.
Whether or not they do end up being a part of Western United.
Indeed.
Because who knows?
Yes.
Who knows?
We only know 2 so far.
That's right.
And I'm excited for these. I feel like Western United needs to be doing some really fun drops, because it needs to be like we get a different player and different someone a part of Western United announcing it, because I remember a few years ago when the Lionesses were revealing their squad for the Women's World Cup, they just had legends of the game just being like, hey, this person, you are a part of the squad. So I feel like that's what Western's social media team needs to be.
Like an advent calendar.
Yeah,
Do they need Western United legends?
Western United.
I'm not sure Western United have had enough time to make legends.
Hey, they've won a title. So
that's true.
So you know what?
So just use the current squad then.
Aleks Sinclair going to announce herself.
Yeah, well, that would be
cool. That'd be cool. We hope to see that potentially, but you know what? We can't dwell too much on the past. The past has happened, but we still have a NPLW season going on. Lachie, Oscar, every time I say those words, I just feel anxious that you're going to come and criticise me again. So. Let's head on to...
I just came out of nowhere. Pokuah was just trying to obscure the fact that she called you my name.
It's a callback from 2 episodes ago. Listen back to it. Oscar tries to...
apparently I'm the only one who does, because I remember the predictions we make on this show and you guys don't.
But heading to the first game of this weekend, Friday the 12th of August, at Wembley Park, we have Box Hill United versus playing FV Emerging. Boys, can't spend too long on it because you guys already decided to use all your words for today. But tell me score predictions and just a brief summary of what you think is going to happen.
Emerging so hard to predict.
We have said this.
And
it's
I'll
our
say
favourite
it again.
saying. I feel like we need to say his one that will be there.
Yeah, and so that makes predicting Emerging impossible. I mean, they could lose 4-1 or they could win 4-1. I'm going to go with they're going to win 3-1 at Wembley Park. I have a good feeling about Emerging after their win over South last time out. They looked really good.
Okay.
Then, of course, there was the Bulleen game. But even in that game...
Look at you adding words every time I say keep it short and sharp. Every time, man.
Emerging 3-1.
Lachie, what are you thinking of the game this weekend?
I'm going to make a very vibes-based prediction here.
We like that already.
And for no other reason than FV Emerging are just one of those teams that, as Oscar said, you can't rely on them necessarily to be pumping out results.
I'm going to do a bingo board when we say these phrases.
Pumping out results consistently, given that Emerging have had a decent few weeks and they beat South Melbourne so convincingly last week. I'm going to say Box Hill win 2-1.
I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with that one with Lachie. I'm going to go Box Hill 2-1 against FV Emerging. But I wouldn't be surprised if either team won, if it was a low scoring or high scoring. Who knows? High scoring, I don't know words.
I mean, I'm looking over the last 5 games for Emerging, and obviously they did play that game in midweek against Bulleen, but loss win. That's the last 5.
Next game, following obviously a difficult weekend for South Melbourne, losing the Nike FC Cup finals. Calder, they face have another difficult challenge. They face Heidelberg United on Saturday at 3 p.m. at Lakeside Stadium. Tough game for them. Will they have a bounce back from the weekend? What do you think, Oscar?
My worry for South is that I wonder if the new coach bounce is dissipating and if it's wearing off. I think we saw it was against Calder, but possibly their worst 2 performances in their last 2 games. So I'm not convinced that there's much light at the end of this season's tunnel for South. So I would be predicting a 4-1 Heidelberg win.
Okay. Lachie?
Yeah, I wonder if maybe if that sort of upset win over a bigger side, that coupon has been redeemed already once this season, and South sort of got that, last time they met Heidelberg in the Nike FC semi-final. The other thing is the head coach of Heidelberg has had a full day of he is coiled like the Viper, Randy Orton, just watching from the sky how South have been going. Has maybe had an extra bit of...
So you're saying an RKO is coming?
No, a bit of lead in time. And also, again, I really don't think... I know I've already mentioned it once, but I don't think you can understate the significance of that Claudia Mircic injury. Losing far and away your best central defender, your most consistent central defender, when you're coming into a game against a side who have the league's 2 most potent scorers. Yeah. That's not a recipe, I don't think, for success. So I will say 3-1 Heidelberg.
I think with South, I think the big game for South Melbourne this season, after such a really poor season, I think was that Nike FC Cup final. I think they've knocked all the wind out of their sails, really, and they're just trying to get to the end of the season. And hopefully, I'd like to be proven wrong, but I foresee a 3-1 Heidelberg win over South Melbourne.
Sheep.
Yes. I'll go 3-0. I'll go 3-0. I will change it up for you, Oscar.
Just a spite-based... We've had a vibes-based prediction and a spite-based prediction.
Just because you come critical on my show yet again, remember whose show it is, okay? You got to remember these things, yeah? But we're heading in 3:30 kickoff this Saturday at Kingston Heath Soccer Complex. We have Bayside United playing Calder. I think this game is pretty straightforward. I'm personally thinking a 4-0 Calder.
I'll say 5-1.
Fair enough. See how I went before?
Going with the 1, yeah?
See how I went before?
Yeah, it happened last time.
That's right, yeah.
Do I remember Julia Budiongo opened the scoring?
Yes.
Because we've spent so much time talking up Calder's defence, why not let them concede a 7th of the season for fun? Bayside, as a treat, you can just have a goal.
My favourite game at the moment is have Bayside scored.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I'm working in favour of the game then.
Well, then I raise you Calder win 4-2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
2 goals. That's...
Julia Budiongo's having a day.
That would be... You know what I would have liked?
You do realise that for them to concede 2, that would be a third of all the... Well, no, it would be a quarter of all the goals that they have conceded for the whole year. And that's in all competitions, by the way.
You know what? I would have...
That's a bold prediction,
I would have dared Oscar to said that's Aleks Sinclair. I don't think he did that. So, you know what? I don't believe you.
You're right, sorry, ideal Calder.
And to finish off the weekend's fixture... Actually, weekend's Monday, actually, this game played. On Monday, 15th, at 8:15, we have Bulleen Lions versus Alameda FC, which I think could probably be the game of the round at the Veneto Club. Is that how we say it? I'm not...
Yeah, the Veneto, up to you.
I'm not quite sure. I don't have the pronunciation skills. But, guys, what do you think of an Oscar? Aleks Sinclair just texted in and says, 4-2 Oscar. Oof. You know what? That's right, Alex. Oscar here is lying, okay? He's just trying to be controversial. It's not happening.
I'm sorry, Alex.
We've had our first apology of the podcast. This is brilliant. I think this will be a really, really good game. FC Bulleen Lions and Alameda have run each other quite close. Obviously, the last time they faced each other was 3-0 in favour of Bulleen, but on the first time they met each other, really close. Bulleen got the win. Obviously, they took each other to extra time in the Nike FC Cup as well in the quarters of that competition. So they're a hard team to beat, Alamein.
Yeah.
That is one thing they certainly are under Cat Smith. They give the top 4, or the rest of the top 4, as it presently stands, a really hard time to sort of overcome them. But I think Bulleen will do it, although I say it'll be close. I'm going to go 3-1 or 3-2. I'm going to go the best result for the neutral. I'm going to say 3-2 Bulleen.
3-2. You know what? I'm going to go 2-1 Alamein.
2-0 Bulleen.
Yeah. Alameda is difficult, but you know what? Will you be watching? Will you be listening to the show to tell us if we were right or wrong?
I will.
And listening to all of us this time, and not just yourself and being self-indulgent.
No, I was the only one listening to all three.
But you didn't remember all three. You just remembered your.
It's not my job to remember your predictions. It's your job to listen back to your own predictions and come back with them with the show. It's preparing.
It is preparing. But
do you want me to write a spreadsheet?
That would be nice.
Okay.
That'd be nice.
Well, off I go now then to do another show and also update our predictions.
If you're doing a spreadsheet, I may well change my Bayside Calder prediction.
Does Alex want to text through her tips? That's what I'm starting to wonder.
But you know what?
Calder 11-0.
It's great, obviously, having
12, no.
It's great having you guys on the show this week. You know what, Alex? Not Alex. I just called Oscar Alex because you know what? I'd like to replace Oscar with Alex.
She's in her heads. Yeah.
But
now I know how South Melbourne feel. Perfect.
It was fantastic to have Aleks Sinclair on the show, and you can obviously catch that interview on anywhere of our streaming.
If you can think of a podcast platform,
you'll be there.
This pod is on there.
You've redeemed yourself from last week, so you probably will be back next week. We'll see how I feel. Lachie, thank you. You've been a permanent.
That's the gig economy I know and love. Yeah.
Lachie's is a permanent stayer of this show, and you know he asked some good questions. He asked some really good questions today, and hopefully his predictions are wrong and mine are correct.
Used to me.
But yeah, we'll see you guys next week. And next up is the NPL Victoria show with
the pod. The NPL Victoria pod.
Sorry,
Important. Do not get us into legal hot water, please.
Pod with Nick Tabano and Lachie Flanagan. And good night, everybody.
See you soon.
Pickett, she lays it off. Teresa Polias.